I'm curious if what everyone's observations of this will be, but it was noted in the last couple of days that this is taking place in Missouri, which is one of the few commissioned states that do exist in the country. And the fact that there was, thought towards like, is there going to be any restrictions? And before people just laugh out loud after watching that main event, the fact is we did not get fire in the I Quit match. I think that's notable. I don't know what restrictions specifically the Missouri Commission implements, but in just looking back, this was 4 months ago that Matt Cardona had tweeted, the Missouri Athletic Commission also said I can no longer hit anyone with my internet championship. So that is the level of restrictions. Now, I think that there was a lot more latitude here, but from one person I did speak to earlier today at AEW, I mean, again, not giving me any specifics, but just telling me the Missouri State Athletic Commission is brutal. So I think that's just interesting to look at here. I mean, the primary matches you would be looking at would be the main event. I think that would be maybe to a lesser extent the Tornado Trios match, but I think everyone was looking at the I Quit match. And I think just the fact that fire was such a big part of the lead up here, that would just be my guess, would be something that they maybe thought that they would be able to do and couldn't, and it did force them perhaps to have to be more creative. But anyway,
it was a noticeably absent element to the match. They did do the tease.
They teased it.
Yep, but
you even had like the "We Want Fire" chants from the crowd early. Like that is that was the expectation, because that was used in so many of the angles to set it up. And the only thing I can guess about, if you're watching this, well, goddamn, they waterboarded a guy. I could assume, though, fire is also an area where you are potentially putting fans in harm's way. That if you have a commission, like fire maybe is the, you put your fire and belt shots. Those are the two things that we just, those are beyond the pale.
Interesting. Yeah. I guess like the type of thing, if that is the case, that you would have hoped that they would have, been able to figure out before building the entire feud around fire. But I'll say I don't think they really
I don't think one person is coming out of that match tonight and saying, man, I wish they did more. Okay. If they had, okay, again, I don't know what they were dealing with here, but if they were dealing with any kind of restrictions, that was not a hindrance to them. I think that this was whatever you expected out of this match. I think you have to, like, it gave you what you were expecting in that type of a match. Are you ready for the I Quit match? All right.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Sam Mushnick had in mind for St. Louis. Okay.
Oh, can you imagine Larry Madison calling this one?
There was a time that they would not book managers in the territory because it was too gimmicky. Okay, so we've made a. Is this the actual poster that they made? I hadn't seen this. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Like it.
All right,
very cool. Yeah.
This one isn't. Is this one?
I don't think this is cultural appropriating anything.
Okay.
Other than skate culture, which I think Darby is signing off on. So
okay. I saw that poster. I was like, it looks cool.
It's cool. I thought it was cool.
I gotta cross-reference these things. Jon Moxley, Darby Allin. Darby comes out with the AEW flag that he scaled Mount Everest for. And, if he tempted death on that particular adventure, this was going to be number 2 in the man's life. And he lays the flag at the center of the ring as Moxley just casually steps over and wipes his boots on this flag. Shafir is in the corner, and we get involved early on, and Moxley gets a chain bloodying up Darby's mouth, and his ear, by the way, which has been the constant of Moxley's targets.
Well, hold on. The ear came from the spot of him basically.
With the rope. With the rope.
Yeah.
So he uses the chain on the mouth, and then he slices the ear against the rope to make it bleed.
He held him like he was doing like the Bryan Danielson stomps, and he basically dragged him by the arms into the second rope. It looked vicious.
But then Shafir gets a bag of skewers. Again, another callback to Wrestling at the Chase. And Moxley takes this one skewer and lodges it under the fingernail, To which Excalibur says, I made the mistake of looking, as Moxley is like hammering this skewer into the fingernail as this crowd gasps.
This spot was insane, man. Like this alone, like this, if this crowd, you were concerned about whether or not they were awake, this certainly woke all of us up at almost like 12 a.m. Holy shit. I was screaming in my basement at
this is just like acupuncture. It's nothing. Darby fights back with a code red, and he fights back, choking him with the flag. And for just a moment, like the crowd got quiet just enough to hear this one fan, Moxley, you're such a bitch. Very prominently, this is yelled so loudly. He goes for the coffin drop on the edge of the apron, but Shafir pulls Moxley out of the way, so Darby just spills onto the floor. And then Moxley, who has recovered, takes off Darby's belt, and he whips this guy, I don't know, 5,000 times. I have never seen a back look just so messed up than this. Like, it was all reddened by the end of this match. I don't know how many times he was whipped, and he was whipped at just an alarming force. Moxley destroys him with the belt, and Darby will not give up. First, he holds on to the rope like Tommy Dreamer and just tells him to bring it on. And then he turns around and just jumps back onto Moxley. And it's building the frustration that nothing Moxley does will keep this guy down. So Darby, who has brought his backpack of doom, which would get this man thrown out of any school board imaginable, goes to this backpack and finds lighter fluid. And the crowd had already chanted for fire. Like, they were all expecting it. So when they see this lighter fluid, it's like these sick fucks were just ready. They were ready to see a man lit on fire in front of them under this restrictive commission. And he douses Moxley with lighter fluid. Then the Death Riders come down and they take bear spray to the face. Yuta is just blinded by this. And they manage to, Darby is taken out with a Moxley cutter, and Claudio has a towel for Moxley to clean himself off of the flammable lighter fluid. That's a friend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I hope you're there for me if somebody douses me with lighter fluid.
You always have to be prepared. Moxley goes to the backpack and pulls out a taser. And after Shafir low blows Darby, he gets tased and then stomped. Then there's a paradigm shift onto an unfolded chair, and he puts Darby in the bulldog choke. But Darby will not go down. Instead, he puts up the middle fingers, not doing a Macarena. And Claudio comes in, and I had forgotten about this spot, and this alone would have been like insane. Not to say this is the first time it's been done, but they did it
in the ECW arena.
Yeah, it was not all that long ago. Claudio,
but the distance felt way longer for this one.
Well, the thump here is just like in the back of my memory bank for life. Claudio runs with a military press, drilling this guy over and onto the announcer's desk. Everyone is just stunned.
He has a very impressive aim.
Oh, his aim is amazing. It's incredible. Nigel just reflects, he's dead. He's dead.
The commentary was great because, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm sure, I would hope Shivani and Excalibur and everybody would have anticipated it, but they were reacting as if they certainly didn't know that this was happening, because Claudio did the fake out where we thought he was going to throw him through the tables, but then he turns around and the announcers are like, oh, don't throw him over here. No, you're not coming over here. And then you just basically got silence, and you got a woman screaming in the background. That was your commentary, and it had a really great effect.
Yeah, you have some people here who are like, what am I attending here? I was told I'm coming to a pro wrestling show and I'm participating in a snuff.
I'm wondering what exhibition. The children in the crowd that were clearly seen high-fiving Darby at the end here.
It was Kate from Montreal who noted the fact that there was a fan that had a sign, "It's my 7th birthday."
Happy 7th birthday. Yes.
Yeah, happy. You'll have nightmares forever. And this is maybe on the smaller scale, but having seen how badly damaged his back was from all the belt shots, when Pac dragged him on his back all the way around to the other side of the ring, I just couldn't imagine what this felt like as you're being pulled on your back against this floor. And I mean,
I'll tell you what, it's like, for me, what really stood out was the pace at which they did everything. So it's like Claudio throws him over the table. We don't have time to react. The next thing you see is Pac dragging this guy in his carcass. Like the feeling they were trying to provide was that we were seeing like some sort of like, honestly, like I don't really know what to call it, but it was like almost like like this sort of like calculated group operation to actually kill somebody. And it sort of had that like very scary effect to it all.
I mean, that was the story of the match, was we are prepared to murder this man. Yeah. The Death Rider is hit by Moxley off the edge of the apron through a pair of tables. The crowd chants, "This is murder," which is quickly becoming one of my pet peeve chants. Maybe I just don't like chants. Maybe that's is it me?
You are you and I are both pretty quiet when we're watching wrestling live.
It's all I say is like, and maybe I'm completely off base here, but it's like these guys are trying to convey like the most horrific story possible of a match. And even at this level, like how many matches are you going to see at this level of intensity? And it's still met with like a comedy chant. And it's just, is that just, hey, they're making noise, that's great? Or is it like, it's still not?
Like, are you saying do you think it's disrespectful to the art that's being created?
Well, I was like, fans can chant whatever they want. They're free to chant anything they want. It's just as you, the performers, and you are trying to take them to this level where I think they want like legitimate fear in these audiences of what they are doing to each other.
I was kind of feeling that, like,
I think anyone watching this, like, this is. But
if you're watching live, like, I also understand, like, maybe you're just kind of in a mood to like pop the crowd or pop your section, you know, and wanting to like come up with something clever to chant. People are having, like, you can't control what a crowd chants. Like they will have their good time, and at this point you kind of have to expect these sort of things, I think.
Then the announcers got very quiet because all of a sudden the Death Riders brought an aquarium into the ring.
Yeah, because you could hear the crowd react. We couldn't really see it on camera yet, but then, like, yeah, we saw what it was. Mm-hmm.
There was no more chance here. They filled the aquarium with water, and Moxley says, "I know what I have to do." And what is that? Waterboarding Darby Allin. And he's yelling. First of all, Moxley was amazing in this match, and I'm not even talking about like the stunts and the work. Like his character stuff in this was just like, here was a man that had been brought to the edge of his level of sanity, that he was uncomfortable with what it was going to take to beat this guy, and he conveyed that so well here. He's like, don't make me do this, and he just starts waterboarding him here over and over. Nigel, just complete straight dying fish, gasping for air. I just don't know how it got this line.
Would you be more mad at Nigel than people chanting "This is murder"?
He said it though with such concern, though. I mean, you have
how else would you commentate a waterboarding? I suppose it's
tough. It's tough. There's not a huge precedent before it. I mean, you pretty much have to go to the ends of the tape trading world for any comparisons. I mean, at one point, Excalibur just asks, like, who have you ever seen so despicable to go to this length? And you just have Shivani, Ole Anderson, 1990. I mean, the guy's
speaking about the taser, not the waterboarding, but yeah, point taken.
It was earlier in the match. Yeah. Ole never waterboarded to our understanding.
Shivani said Ole tased him, like, you know, saying that he was asking the panel if they've ever felt what a taser feels like, and Shivani's like, I have.
You're right. So he continues to attempt to murder Darby here via waterboarding when the lights go out. On the Post Wrestling Cafe this month, John Pollock and Wei Ting sit down for a new edition of Talk. We are also going back to 1992 to look at the G1 climax from that year. Rich Vann and W.H. Park are getting together to review Peacemaker Season 2 and look at Marvel Zombies. Plus, we have Book Club detailing Kamala Harris's new release, 107 Days, weekly editions of Collision Course, and the XL versions of Rewind to Raw, Dynamite, and SmackDown. All can be found at postwrestlingcafe.com. And what was actually cool was that like the audience realized who was there first before the lights came on. So you get this big pop and then the double pop when the lights come on. And there is Santa Borden himself, white-haired Sting.
Waterboarded.
Waterboarding. Oh my God. Oh, the
2 a.m. 2 a.m. everybody.
Oh my God. Way doesn't rest. So here he comes, and this is like the untouchable character in AEW.
He's their Undertaker. Yeah.
He is their Undertaker, and Moxley is just in fear of like what he has conjured here in the return of Sting, who chokes Moxley with the bat, attacks all the Death Riders, smashes the aquarium. So now we have got a ring, just a puddle of water with broken glass all over it. And just the eyes of Moxley. He could not have sold the fear more of Sting here. I just thought Jon Moxley was so spectacular in this match.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
He tosses the bat to he what does he do? He throws the bat.
He gives it to Darby.
To Darby. Yeah, I had this wrong. And he goes face to face with Shafir, ducks a slap, and removes Shafir. So he has evened the playing field for Darby to survive. And it's Darby who uses the bat, goes to the knees of Moxley, chokes him with the flag, Scorpion Death Drop, Coffin Drop, and then the Scorpion Death Lock in the pool of broken glass as Moxley quits at 25 minutes, 25 seconds. And the only call you could possibly have for such a match, Tony Schiavone, Darby is alive and wins. And then Nigel says, I've never been so happy to hear two words in my whole life. And this man's married.
Which two words? Darby's
I quit.
alive. Oh, okay.
I think I quit to signal the end of the match.
I see. That's what he means. It's not and wins.
And Darby holds up the
Gotcha.
flag, and we end this show at about 12:30 a.m. I don't know what the general consensus of this match is going to be.
I don't know how to talk about this match, man. Because it's like, to even call it a match is... I've had this experience with AEW matches before. Like, coming off these pay-per-views, just thinking like, what are we doing? What are we talking about here? Was this a wrestling match that we just watched? And I feel like I didn't have that feeling more than like...
I have so many questions for the Missouri State Athletic Commission. I want to know... I would love to have watched this match with any member of the Missouri Commission. That's what I would want to know. I would want to know, is it true that belt shots were not allowed on independent shows in June? And suddenly we turn on the cameras and waterboarding is negotiable.
Yeah. Let's take a breath.
Listen, for what this was utterly spectacular.
Yeah.
I thought this was honestly one of the best Jon Moxley performances that you are going to see. I thought Darby was Darby, which is to me, this was like...
They delivered what they promised.
Yeah. And I think there remains like a question mark here of like, what restrictions did they have? I think everyone would feel comfortable in assuming that fire was off the table, that they could not use fire. And in that case, like, were they handicapped to have to put this together? Like, I give them a lot of credit because this is one where, like, this crowd wanted fire. It was very evident. And they gave them something totally different. They were like, if we can't give them fire, what's the next best element? Water.
Love it. Yeah.
Two elements that can give you life and also death.
No, like, I mean, water in the right context is even just as deadly as
Water
fire.
is very underutilized in pro wrestling.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so they...
When will wind be incorporated? Could we do an outdoor, like, match on a mountain of some sort? I mean,
like a
wind has been
wind-
underutilized.
A wind death match, like death via, like what, just like a fan in the face?
Have a windmill. Yeah,
Have
that's
to work
possible.
on that.
All right.
We've had buried alive matches. We've had Earth.
That's true.
Okay. Anyway, so I mean, what did they promise here? They delivered on what they promised. They promised something as close to a snuff film as possible, as the Missouri Athletic Commission could allow. and they certainly provided that. I'll often judge, I think, the success of a match based off of like whether or not, the people creating it managed to achieve what they intended. And I would certainly say they were very effective here. Like you mentioned, John, with two excellent performances from both Darby and Jon Moxley here. Not just even talking about the stunts, but in the acting, in just like selling the story of like, this person being desperate to end this guy's sort of like philosophical reign of terror, and Moxley doing everything he can to take this other guy to the brink of it without like ultimately breaking.
You had to convey a man that was going to mentally break at 25 minutes, and it's not like this just comes out of nowhere. It's like you see the progression of how deep he is going to try and kill this guy, and he is being taken to that limit by Darby. Like, honestly, I really believe like this from start to finish is one of like the finer Jon Moxley just character performances in many ways, and I think this is going to be one of like the signature matches attached to Darby Allin too, of like all the big matches that he has done. What is going to have that remembrance, that staying power? I think this is going to be one of them, and it's going to be because of like visuals like this that are like I'm sure there's going to be tons of criticism of this too. There will probably be both of it as well. But for what they needed to, they had to come out here and do one of the craziest matches in the company's history. And whether you think this was the craziest or not,
and Flaming Tables wasn't going to achieve that. When we say crazy, it doesn't just mean, I think, like showing fire. You had to do something creative and never seen before with fire, and instead they did something you've never seen before with water or with the fish tank. As far as I know, I don't think I've ever seen a waterboarding in a wrestling match before. Did Luthez do this once upon a time?
Well, there was, when he told Buddy Rogers we could do this the easy way or the hard way. This was what he was referring to. The hard
Charlie
way.
Thez, I'm sure, was like, "Yep, that's, that reminds me." So like they achieved what they were set out for. Now we ask the question: did I enjoy it?
Oh,
Like, was this an enjoyable match? I mean, these sort of matches, to even ask that question is sort of tough for these sort of matches. Like with death matches or with horror movies, like the intent isn't necessarily to make you could argue, enjoy it. It's to make you feel, and it's to make you remember. And this made me feel, made me remember. But God, there was just a point in this match, and probably it came with this, when I anticipated what was about to happen with this fish tank, where I just stopped and asked myself what I was watching. And it's that I was watching a man waterboarding another man on live TV at like 12:30 in the morning. And I don't even know if like at that point to me, it even felt like art. Like it just kind of felt like gratuitous. And I think everybody has that line. And I think I might even like feel differently about this the morning. But in the moment, I've just kind of really hit my limit on like this sort of thing. Like I kind of failed to see the artistry. In recapping the match, I do understand what the intention was, but God, I just like, I did not really enjoy this like towards the end, but the Sting stuff was really great. Really great.
Yeah. These are not always my favorite types of matches, but I really thought this was excellent. Like I really thought it delivered in a lot of different ways. And I would say like part of this as well is that this match is able to have some kind of staying power with people, that they'll remember it beyond just a couple of weeks. And part of that, I think, will be to its benefit if this match is panned by people and there's a controversy over the match. I think a lot of times that's what elevates matches. Like an Osprey Ricochet comes to mind, like without the like hatred some people had of that match. Yep. It sort of just becomes like an accepted, like it was a great match in an era of tons of great matches. And I think part of it is like, I think you will see both sides of like arguments. And if people like do not like this form of professional wrestling, I'm not going to argue with you either. Like it does, is going to test some people's limits of what they've seen. But again, it's like if you came up in a culture where you were exposed to a lot of death matches just in like smaller audiences, like you've seen a lot of like intense, crazy shit.
Well, at this point, if you're an AEW fan, you've seen a lot of intense, crazy shit. Like AEW as a pay-per-view product, I think is very much, you can classify at least like its main events as a death matchy type of promotion, right? Like some of the most
They
extreme
still
things,
haven't done they haven't done Weed Whackers yet. Like that's fertile
no.
territory for them.
But at this point in my like wrestling watching life, I feel like some of the more extreme things I've seen has been within an AEW ring, right? So this just kind of feels like it's par for the course for like their pay-per-view attraction. You know, by the end we ask, okay, like did somebody feel like they got their money's worth of, you know, paying however much for this pay-per-view experience that they couldn't get on TV? You can argue like this sort of spectacle, it justifies that.
And what pressure you also feel as AEW to be able to do a match like this that you know your competitor cannot. That when you promote a match like this in the future, these are the ideas that are going to come to mind that an audience is going to know, okay, they don't have a restriction of how far they're going to go. And like that is a selling feature to some. And it's going to be a turnoff to others as well. Like I don't think this is going to be a uniform well received or pan match. I think you'll have differing opinions. That would be my guess whenever matches like this occur.